The Meg Show continues. Carney to Tyrell.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Meg Show. We're officially episode 12 in the postseason. Conference play has concluded. Selection Sundays happened. Last week we decided to not have an episode, figuring we'd wait till conference play is over. We'd have much more to talk about in that time frame. So let's kind of dive right into it, right into the recap of the conference championships, with the first one ended up being number one ranked for Selection Sunday, was the Big Ten. Northwestern beat Penn State 14-12. Definitely a closer game, but that's what we like to see in conference championships. No one really wants to see a blowout at that point. So hard-fought battle by Penn State. Northwestern comes out on top, but that's no surprise to anybody, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. I love to see that was still a close game, especially after Penn State beat them first game of this, or like first time they played. So good to see that at least it was close. Northwestern didn't just come out and blow them out, which sort of takes away the value of Penn State's win the first time around. So glad to see it was still a close game. But yeah, good for Northwestern. Another Big Ten championship. They have so many.
Yeah, I know. Moving along, the ACCs, I think we talked about this last time, but I can't really remember at this point. But BC had a big win over Syracuse. BC in the postseason is a team that I do not want to face, and we can talk about that later as we head into our Selection Sunday topics. But they just, and they say it all the time on the broadcast, they know how to win when it comes down to it. We've seen it before. Acacia does a really, really good job making sure her team's ready for the big moments in the postseason, because when it comes down to it at this point, it's win or go home. So being able to, even if it's not the prettiest win for some games, a win's a win. You take it, you run with it, you move on, right? So BC back-to-back ACC champions. Really happy for them. They pulled out a really great win. Kayla Martello went 6 for 6 on shooting, which you really can't ask for a better day out of her. She's had a stellar season so far. So congrats to BC, back-to-back champs. Looking forward to see what they do. Their bracket's not the easiest one.
You don't think?
I don't think.
I guess they have Michigan, but they have probably the easiest like first round game or second round, I guess, for them. But first game of the tournament for them. But going back to the BC win over Syracuse, I thought it was very interesting to finally be able to watch BC play, on TV, no obligations, like no ties to anything. Like done with lacrosse, just sit on my couch and watch their game on TV. Not in person, it's way different on TV. You got the replays, you can see everything from a different view. They are so good at adjusting in game. And I'll say that's just like where they beat us. Syracuse started off so hot, came out like 6-1 or 5-1 right out in the first quarter. BC tied it going into halftime. So you come out second half, basically starting the game over 0-0. And they just adjusted. They hold different defense. They're really pressured out. Sent the slides very early, and fast. And Syracuse just couldn't adjust. So it'll be interesting to see if they match up again, if they can beat them 3 times in a row in one season.
And that's no easy feat. Been done before, but it's really hard in the general scheme of sports. It's really hard to beat the same team 3 times, which I don't really know where that stat ever came from, but it's just something I've always heard. Very interesting. So if someone knows the reasoning behind that, feel free to let us know, because I can look it up. But moving along, for the CAA, Stony Brook defeats Drexel 9-6. So that was at Stony Brook, and that game was neck and neck basically up until the end. Stony Brook was able to pull away. This Drexel team, though, they do not go down without a fight. And I kind of figured Stony Brook was going to end up winning this conference, just based on the way that's been going for them all season. But don't count Drexel out, and we'll see them in the postseason too.
Yeah, Stony Brook always has these like kind of close games to teams that, for being so highly talked about, Stony Brook, like I feel like they should be blowing them out of the water. But we'll see in the postseason how they do. Can't talk too soon.
Never can. The MAC conference, Niagara beat Fairfield, enters the tournament for the first time, which is a common theme that we've been seeing, at least this year. There are a bunch of first-timers in the NCAA tournament, and you just have to love to see that. Big win for Niagara. Fairfield, I'm pretty sure, has been dominating that conference for the past 4 seasons, 4 or 5 seasons, something like that. So pumped to see a new team on the block making their presence known in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, that Niagara game, did that come down to the wire? What I was watching a highlight of a game. I can't remember which one it is now. Because I was going through all of them, but yeah, Fairfield's a good team, so good for Niagara. And they get to play in Syracuse, so not a far travel for them, which is nice. They, I would assume, go there and back same day, probably the day before. Well, I guess it depends if they win or not, but I guess for a playoff game, you're probably going up the day before, 2 days before. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's nice for them.
probably.
Nice, easy travel. Don't have to fly. Quick bus ride.
And then moving on to the Pac-12, always a competitive conference. Stanford played Colorado, beat them. Stanford punches their ticket into the tournament. Colorado left out. Colorado left out of the
Yeah,
tournament.
interesting.
Yep. That one
Ranked all
also,
year.
I know, it's crazy. Stanford winning wasn't really surprising for me. The team they've got up there, or out there, I guess we should say, super talented. They've got a lot of seniority on the team, so I saw that one coming. Moving along, Patriot League. So this game I was really excited for. Loyola played Navy, and it was the game that I thought was going to happen. It went into overtime, and Loyola pulled out the win. I'm pretty sure it was like a behind the back game-winning goal by Georgia Latch to secure the win, secure the trophy for Loyola, secure their automatic bid. And something we can talk a little bit more about later was with that win, Navy did not make the tournament, which I was very surprised by. Based on the season that Navy had, to me, it felt like there could have been a space for them in the overall bracketing, but they were left out.
Yeah, I feel like that's a theme we're seeing this selection show. A lot of teams that were ranked top 20, top 25 all season long have some notable wins, but then get left out of the tournament. But I guess that leaves room for some other newbies coming in.
Yeah, no, definitely that. So big win for Loyola. This is their third Patriot League trophy that they were hoisting up. Happy for them. The NEC, we have another first timer in the tournament. LIU beat Sacred Heart for their first NCAA tournament appearance. I didn't actually know which way that game was going to go. It was very close the entire game, and LIU was just kind of able to secure that win in that fourth quarter. But another first timer, and we love it. We love to see this. New names, new faces in the tournament, new chances for anything to happen for these teams. So
Yeah,
the further they go, the more history they make for their team and their school.
would love to see some of these newbies, these first timers, get some upsets in the tournament.
That'd be fantastic, actually. In the ASUN, we have Coastal Carolina defeating Jacksonville for their first NCAA tournament appearance. Common theme, like I've been saying. Coastal Carolina played a good game against Jacksonville. This, not to say I doubted Coastal Carolina, but I did think that Jacksonville was going to pull out the win there. I did. Prior to the game starting. But
Yeah,
happy for Coastal Carolina. They did it away. They were at Jacksonville, I'm pretty sure, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. So it's not easy. It's not easy to go on the road for playoffs. Basically, at that point, you're kind of fighting for your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Make the tournament or your season's over. So very happy for Coastal Carolina. Their celebrations on social media looked so fun. I think I saw a TikTok actually of them on their bus ride home with like the championship T-shirts and their trophy. I can't remember what this song was too, but it was pretty funny. Got a lot of interaction on there.
Yeah, that was a huge win for them. Obviously, first time to the tournament, so great for the program, the school. But yeah, like you said, I was betting on Jacksonville for that game. So many upsets this season. Like they just don't stop.
They never do. Moving on to the Big East. This one, whoa, Denver really held on against UConn. It was 14-14 with less than 30 seconds left of regular play, and Denver was able to pull out the win, which this UConn team is really good too. I really thought between those two teams it could have gone either way as well. But I'm not surprised that Denver was able to pull out the win there.
I would have loved for UConn to win. Nothing against Denver, but just like shake things up even more.
Because that's all this
that would've
season's been.
Yeah,
Just
that would have been
shaking it
great
up.
for UConn.
Another conference. There's so many conferences. Another conference, I guess you call it the MAC again, would be Robert Morris defeating Detroit Mercy 14-10. They get their automatic bid. I don't think this is their first rodeo here. But nonetheless, a 4-goal win's very convincing. So excited to see what they do in the tournament as well.
Yeah, I don't believe that's their first time because I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I remember something about them.
Yeah, when we
were they on in our side of the bracket one time?
Maybe in the first round. I don't know.
Yeah.
But when I was watching the selection show, they were having some technical issues in the beginning. And it was just like Robert Morris's team like sitting there front row, and the camera was so close. I was like, okay. But happy for them. That's awesome. Moving on to the America East, Binghamton defeats Albany for the first time in program history and books their first trip to the NCAA tournament. Binghamton has been on the cusp of this for so long, and I really just think back when Stony Brook was in the America East, it was they were such a powerhouse to overcome in that conference, and with them moving over to the CAA, I think that was huge for the conference in itself. But for Binghamton, for Albany, these two teams, that game, I watched the whole thing. It was in the rain, the conditions, it had to be cold, and they did put on a good show. Binghamton ended up winning first time. Very happy for them.
That is huge to get your first win in program history over Albany. Great win. Albany's a very dominant team. And then to also make your first trip to the NCAA tournament. Mm-hmm. What a great double whammy.
Yeah. Sad for Katie Rowan and squad, but happy for Binghamton nonetheless. For the AAC, Florida played JMU and put on a offensive clinic. 21-11 final score in the conference championship game. I did not predict that. I didn't know really that for me that game could have gone either way, and Florida had probably the most convincing win of all the conference championship games. It's a really, really dominant game, and that's a really scary Florida team heading into playoffs. Mm-hmm.
When was the last time Florida did not win their conference tournament? I vote they go to a different conference, one a little bit harder, because they're a great team, but the AAC is not, they need more competition.
They just moved into this one last year. You're
right.
Mm-hmm. They just moved conferences. And
they're just like always winning their conference championship, which is awesome. Good for them. But yeah, this is going to be a good Florida team going into the tournament.
Mm-hmm. In the Ivy League, Yale defeats Penn in overtime. Another really exciting game. And this was Yale's first conference championship, so congratulations, Yale. Well deserved. I thought Penn was going to pull out the win here. And maybe I was selfishly rooting for them a little bit. But for Yale, your first conference championship. You're in the tournament. You're highly ranked in the tournament as well. That is huge news for them. Yeah, huge news for them. So that's really awesome. And they could shake things up here as well.
Yeah, I'd say Yale and Florida are going in a little underrated into this tournament, and I think they could definitely pull some upsets.
In the A10, Richmond defeats UMass, another nail biter of a game. But it kind of seemed to me like towards the end of the game, Richmond was really, as much as it was like kind of close, I kind of just had like a feeling that Richmond was going to win. Because like you watch games that's like, oh, like this team's fine. Like even like when you're playing and you're like, oh, this game's kind of close, but I think we're going to win.
Like you're going to win.
Yeah, one of those.
Yeah.
That was how I felt personally. But good for Richmond. Also not their first rodeo, not their first show here. So they'll be making some waves in their bracket as well. And finally, we got the Big South. Mercer earns the three-peat of their conference championship against High Point. And
come on, High Point.
Yeah, I don't know. I
don't know why, but I think of them as like a top team.
High Point?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wouldn't say they're like really low, but like I just think of them as like someone that is a really good player, but not like the top 10 D1. High Point's a great fit. But I guess they're lower than that. But like, what a beautiful school. Like, why not go there?
No, their campus is beautiful. Like, so pretty. Actually, if I wasn't playing lacrosse, that was one of the schools I probably would have gone to. Now that I'm thinking back on it. Yeah. Because I saw, so I hate to say this, but I love the color purple. And they're purple, and then they had this like pool it's like on their website basically, and it's like this pool, it's like in like the front of their school and whatever. And I was like, wow, this looks really nice, and it's in the South, and it doesn't get too hot, but it doesn't get too cold. But yeah,
so true.
But then I just loved lacrosse, so
then you were like good at lacrosse, so
and then that happened, so plans change. But that is the roundup of the conference championships. Round of applause to everyone who has their automatic bid. And moving on, let's talk about the NCAA tournament setup. Who's playing who, and then we'll talk about what we think, because that's just what we do here. I think number one overall, we have Northwestern. That should not come as a shocker to anyone. Or at least towards the end of the season, it made complete sense in my head. The number 2 seed, we have BC. Makes total sense to me. 3, Syracuse. Also makes total sense to me. And those 3 teams all have byes in the first round. So if anyone's listening and might not know what a bye is, basically on May 10th, the first round of games will start. So if you're not in those first 3 seeds, then you will be playing. And if you are those first 3 seeds, you watch who is playing, and then the winner of that game, you end up playing for your first round, but it's technically the second round, and that will be played on May 12th, aka Mother's Day. So do not forget to tell your mother you love her and you appreciate her.
Oh my god. But yes, so that would be Friday is the first round, Sunday is the second round.
Yep.
All right, and then let's see. Coming in, I can't really see.
At the 4 seed, we've got Maryland Terrapins coming in at the 4 seed. This one we can actually just finish and then we'll go through.
Yeah.
Yep, so we got the 4 seed Maryland, who had a really heavy push towards the end of their season. 5 seed, we've got Virginia, which that also wasn't a surprise to me either. Virginia has had a fantastic season.
Yeah.
What Coach LaMonica has done with this team has been huge, in my opinion.
Yeah,
huge. And they're also very it's crazy though, because they're very veteran led, but they've also had these freshman studs. Gallica if I'm pronouncing that correctly, she just won Freshman of the Year in the ACC. If I'm getting that right, I thought I saw that. So they've got talent from the youth to the vets. So they'll have or in my head, they're going to have a long run here. At the 6th seed, we've got Yale, who we were just talking about. For them, they went 15-2, and their RPI was up. I think their RPI was like 4.
Yeah, it's very, very high,
which
is great because I feel like Ivies could, especially like being in that area where there's a lot of like BU, like schools like that where wouldn't help your RPI, but they're all close and good teams to play. I feel like that happens a lot with Ivies, is their RPI isn't as high, but it's good for Yale.
Yeah, definitely. And then at number 7, we have Notre Dame. And then coming in at number 8, we've got Penn. So although Yale beat Penn in the conference championship, Penn was still able to secure that 8th seed, which I thought was very well deserved.
So a few just overall thoughts of the bracket. Meg, what's your take?
So I think overall for these first round games, I think that in my opinion, there's not just one, or for most of the games, there's not one that I'm like, oh, this person's definitely going to win or this team's definitely going to win. I think these first round games are going to be the toughest first round games that we may have ever seen.
I agree.
If you think
Denver,
that's too...
Stanford, I'd say there's about 3, maybe 4 games that are like, okay, like who's going to win. But Denver, Stanford, great matchup. Stanford can definitely give them a run for their money. They're playing like their best lacrosse right now. Loyola, Duke, I think that's pretty fair. Anyone postseason could win that. Richmond, Penn, Virginia, LIU, I think that one's pretty obvious. I think UVA will secure that win. Florida, UNC could go either way. That's going to be a great postseason matchup. Both those teams are just turn it on to a whole nother level in postseason. Penn State, JMU is pretty even matchup. Robert Morris, Maryland, I'd say Maryland there. Stony Brook, Niagara, I would feel confident saying Stony Brook. Hopkins, Fairfield, I'd go Hopkins. Binghamton, Yale. But yeah, I think majority of the games, at least in the top half, like at the start, are a toss-up.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching Princeton Drexel. They'll be playing in Boston at 4 p.m. on Friday. I think that could be a surprising matchup to watch. I'm curious to see how those two teams line up against each other. And it's kind of same for Hopkins Fairfield. Fairfield's a tough team. They play really gritty, and Hopkins is having a really good season, so I'd like to see those two kind of collide as well.
For sure.
I also think we can go back to Maryland being the 4 seed. I don't know if I would have put them at 4. If anything, I might have bumped Virginia and Yale and then put Maryland at 6.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
But then there's also, for the rankings, I'm pretty sure region comes into it too.
Yeah, like travel.
So traveling wise for the schools, that plays a factor into it.
Maryland beating Syracuse, I think, is like what's holding them on.
Maybe.
Like a good, noteworthy win.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But I do think, yes, they deserve the seeding. I don't know if 4-1 I would have put them at, but also for the committee, this could not have been an easy year to be on the committee here who makes these decisions. But I think overall they did a really nice job with it. I think teams are excited. They're fired up. All these games are pretty much competitive. So getting to carry North Carolina is not going to be an easy feat for any of these teams, really.
For sure. A few things that stuck out to me is Notre Dame being ranked at 7. I don't know. I think that's interesting. Duke getting in, but Navy doesn't, is something to take note on. Cuse potentially opening up with Stony Brook is going to be an insane matchup. Stony Brook and Cuse just always go head to head. It's such a great game. And Stony Brook beating them earlier in their season, that's gonna be a great game to watch if Stony Brook gets past Niagara. But yeah, Michigan having to play Notre Dame potentially after both being in the top 5 to 6 all year is very interesting how that shook out.
I
Like
feel
a
like
second round game.
Yeah, I feel like that makes
I feel like that's like an Elite 8 game.
I know, but I feel like it makes sense though because they were both like here the whole season or
Mm-hmm.
for the most part of the season. So them being in that same bracket kind of makes sense. But then they've also got BC there too. So
Yeah.
if I'm that bracket, I don't want to be in it personally.
And then USC and Colorado being ranked all year. USC, one thing to note, did lead the Pac-12 with all conference players, and they did not make the cut. So Stanford's got to represent the West Coast.
Oh yeah. Yeah, shame for USC. They had a great season and they've got some great veterans who, unfortunately won't be taking the field in their uniform for USC anymore, but they did leave it with lots of good memories and definitely left the team and the program in better hands than when they got there, which as a senior, when you leave, that's all you can really hope for. So the next team that steps up kind of steps right into place.
That's got to be tough for those teams right on the cuffs, like not knowing for sure if you're going to get in or not. Like having that feeling, okay, like we did well, like ranked all year, thinking and like betting on getting in and then not. So like yeah, you want to play every game like it's your last, but obviously like in your head like you're hoping and betting on that one more game and then you don't get it. It's like wow, I played my last game of lacrosse and didn't know it.
Yeah, that's got to be an eerie feeling, but unfortunately it does happen. It does happen a lot. But nonetheless, if you can leave and say you gave it your all, then that's all you can really do at that point. But it is sad when it ends. And for the people who are still, fortunate enough, have worked all season for this, don't let that go for granted. Because it's every game you are afforded is win or go home at that point. So I always thought like going into playoffs, that was something that I would be on the field with, like, oh, like, oop, could go home after this.
Yeah.
So it's always a good thing to keep in mind
Do or
moving
die at
forward.
that point.
It really is. But that makes for the most exciting lacrosse. That's why playoffs is fun for every sport, and especially for lacrosse. We've got a ton of teams, a ton of good games lined up for this week moving forward into May. And this is the last month of lacrosse here for NCAA lacrosse. So make sure you guys are tuning in. There's a bunch of games this Friday. Clear your schedules. You'll be busy all
Yeah.
day.
I did see that Taylor Cummings posted that they are staggered. So
They are staggered. We've got 4 p.m.
that's
games, 3
all
p.m.
we can
games,
ask for.
6 p.m. games, 12 p.m. So the people are listening. They're hearing us, which is so great. So make sure you guys tune in this week. We'd love to hear your thoughts about the bracket that we can talk about next week. And moving on, we do have a special guest this week. So make sure you stick around and we'll bring her right on. Hey guys, welcome back. Welcome to the Meg Show. We have Jay Brown from Stanford. Jay, thanks for joining us today. Jay is someone that Meg knows very, very well. And just to hype Jay up a little bit, because she deserves it, she is now a 3-time Pac-12 tournament champion, most recently this year, so congratulations. Back in 2021, she was Iowa Women's Mid-Season Breakthrough Player of the Year, preseason All-America honorable mention. She is a 3-time Pac-12 Academic Honor Roll, 2-time IWLCA Academic Honor Roll, and this year is first team Pac-12. She is athletic and she's smart. She was just named the Pac-12 tournament MVP after recording 5 points in their championship game. Stanford's captain dished out 4 assists and added a goal in that win. For Stanford, Jay has become just a household name out on the West Coast from the minute she stepped on campus, and now heading into her final postseason. Her team preps for the first round of the NCAA tournament against Denver this Friday in Evanston. at Northwestern. Jay, welcome to the Meg Show.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining, Jay. Well, just to get this kicked off, obviously you guys played Denver earlier in the season. You lost 10-6, so now Monday, it's after selection show Sunday. What are you guys doing to prepare? Does postseason look any different for you guys, matching up against a team that you've already seen?
Yeah, I think the game against Denver was pretty uncharacteristic for us. It just was like they're such an aggressive team, and we go against that pretty much every day against our defense. And our game against them this year, we did not play like ourselves. We had a ton of uncharacteristic turnovers, mistakes, missed shots, like just things we normally don't do. And so going into the postseason, we're kind of just like knowing that we can do so much better, and having another shot at them is honestly really exciting, even though we weren't thrilled with our draw. I think the selection committee has done us this way a few times now, and it kind of stinks that the West Coast just gets put all on the same side of the bracket when I don't know if that's necessarily how it should be, but we're excited to just get another shot at them.
Yeah, I think that's a great revenge tour for you guys. Start the tournament off with a great win, so that'll be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So let's tell the listeners a little bit about yourself. What are you studying at Stanford? Major, grad program? What do you got going on?
So I'm currently in my 5th year. I'm getting my master's in sustainability, science and practice. I did my undergrad in sociology with a concentration in data science, markets, and management. So I kind of like they don't have a business degree here, but I'm interested in like the intersection of kind of business and human behavior and decision making. And so I'm kind of doing that. And then now getting into sustainability, it's just a huge open space right now, and it's been really cool to learn about it. I didn't really know much about it going into it, but I've, spent the last year learning about it. Now I'm just trying to see what to do with the rest of my life after.
That's really cool. So sustainability, you learned through Stanford, I'm assuming, or was it?
Yeah, so it's like a new program, relatively new school, and a lot of athletes do it just because it's kind of it's not easy, but it's there's a lot of us in it, and so we have a good support system, and the professors are super accommodating. But it's a few of my teammates have done it who taken 5th years before, and really, really liked it, and it's just a space that's really opening up just worldwide right now, and it's a huge need area, and so I'm always someone who likes to solve problems, and so I was like, hey, take my shot at it.
Oh, that's perfect.
That's great. I don't know any of the words you said when you were saying what you were studying, but
it's just fancy talk for what I'm doing.
That's the difference between Stanford and Syracuse.
With that, so why Stanford? When you were going through your recruiting process, how'd you end up at Stanford? How did that look like for you? And where else were you looking?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, as you guys remember, when we were getting recruited, we were like 14 years old. So, I mean, I like still had braces. I didn't even know what getting recruited was. I mean, God, like me, like I was this little twerp, like this big, like, but I think when, like, growing up, I don't know if like playing lacrosse was always the goal as much as like from my parents' end, it was like use lacrosse to get into wherever you wouldn't get in normally. And so like that was really driven by, I think like my mom and dad just really wanted me to get a really great academic experience. And I think like when you get recruited to Stanford, the saying is like, if Stanford comes knocking, you don't turn them away. And it's not a 4-year investment, it's a 40-year investment, and yada, yada, yada. And so I think as a 14-year-old, I didn't know what the heck was going on. And so my dad was basically like, Stanford gave you an offer, like, let's do it, let's go. I'm like, cool, let's go. But I was also looking at Princeton, and Megan and I both had this real big love for Georgetown when we were getting recruited.
Literally no one else understands.
No one gets it, and like we would just be like, every year we would be like, should we do it? Like, should we go? Should we just drop everything and go? Should we bring our coaches with us? Like, we had this big dream of just getting out to DC together, and
what could have been?
It could have been. I came to campus. I came to Stanford's campus, and I went on for the Stanford USC football game, and I went on the field, and I just knew immediately. I was like, "Yep, we're going here."
Yeah, that checks out. But no, Meg talks about her Georgetown love.
It's like
more
I
than
like
the average
fangirl
though.
over it.
But the thing
It's
is,
like so
I
embarrassing.
didn't even know of her like love for Georgetown probably till like our junior year, and I was just like, you always talk about Georgetown. Like, what is going on?
And it's like it was like some spell that they had, and I think our coaches played such a big role in it. But like, it also like they wanted us, and we were like,
oh, that's
UNC
awesome.
wasn't knocking on my door. I was like,
oh shit! I love Georgetown.
Yeah,
man.
I think I visited there 4 times.
Oh,
like,
I found my mom and I literally found any way or reason to go visit there.
Yeah. Oh, anyway.
I'm like, oh, I have a layover in DC. Hey, Ricky.
Oh, hey, Ricky.
I'm right around the corner.
We're actually on that Georgetown cupcakes right now. Like, waiting in line.
Wow, I love that place so much.
Yeah, we had bakeries.
It's funny.
So Princeton, our love for Georgetown. What else would you say was like a huge point in getting recruited? Obviously, you touch a little bit on our coaches if you want to go into more about that. But like, obviously, being a kid from Texas, like, what was your recruiting journey like, or what was the biggest turning point for you?
Yeah, I mean, like, you know how it is. It was playing for a team. We had so much fun together, but it was also, like, there weren't that many kids coming out of Texas, so, like, there were kind of, like, 1 or 2 people from each class that were, like, really, like, drawing the attention and getting recruited, and I think that was really big for me in the recruiting process, just knowing, like, most of the girls on my team were committing, but I also knew that, like, a lot of the coaches there were looking at me and, like, recruiting me, and there was something about that and my coaches, like Maggie and Molly, had instilled so much confidence in me that I, like, felt like I could go where I wanted, and I really wanted to go somewhere I knew I was going to play, and, like, that was important to me, and, you know, Stanford wasn't too highly ranked when I committed there, and, I mean, it's been quite the journey since I've been here, but, like, that was a priority. It was like, I do want to play, and even if it's in, like, a lesser conference than the ACC, I'm like, it felt like a really good fit for me to get, like, a really great education and also have a really competitive experience. And so it's definitely been, like, give and take with what I chose to do when I was 15.
When you, like, didn't even know what high school you were going to.
And my feet were, like, dangling from the coach's chair.
No, that's a good point, though. Like, being able to be mature enough to realize that you want to go somewhere to play and not just go to, like, the number 1 school. Because, like, yeah, there's bells and everything about the top schools and they look great, but then you go there and you don't play. So it's like, would I rather go somewhere to a top 25 school and play, or do I want to go to top 4 school and just sit on the bench?
Right.
Yeah, I think that's what's really cool about the recruiting rules now is, you know, we were getting recruited when we were 14, 15 years old, and now these girls have an opportunity, like, to choose later on, not feel so rushed with it, where you can hopefully by that time, like when you're a junior or senior, you, like, start thinking about college and what you want to do, and at that point you can kind of get your priorities, and it's like, is this what I want? Like 1, 2, 3, what's more important than one other thing? So I think that was a really good point to bring up.
Yeah, that we were so young. That's actually insane. Like,
I know.
8th grade, freshman year.
And, like,
why
our
were we
parents-
making that decision?
Yeah, I mean, my parents were, like, not so involved that, like, they made the decision for me, but, like, it is a decision that I think comes down to, at that point, like, way more in your parents' hands than your own, like, for good reason.
Yeah.
Like, I would have died to go to Duke at that time in my life because Charlotte was going there, and I was like, I want to play with Charlotte for the rest of my life. I want to, like that's, and, like, so thank God my parents were like, come on, like, there's like a life out there. Like, just ride that bandwagon. So, like, with good reason, I wanted, like, that cool, fun, like, ACC experience, and that, I don't think that would have worked out.
And then obviously, what was it, your junior year? when you got hurt, or is it your sophomore
Sophomore
year?
year.
Sophomore year, my junior.
Your
So
junior
your
year.
sophomore year, you get hurt. What was that like? You're still just halfway through your college career. I mean, have you ever had an injury before? Like, was this your first major injury? And just what was that like going through it at Stanford, at home? And I guess, how'd you get through it?
Yeah. So I've like had minor injuries like hamstrings, ankle sprains, like just the usual, like wrists, like broke my wrist. But
Oh my
I
God,
mean,
yeah.
yeah, I remember when I played with like a club on my head. But nothing as devastating as the ACL. And yeah, it just was like so heartbreaking at the time. And it's something I still am like, I can't believe that happened to me. I
Yeah.
mean, like, it's been 3 years and I'm like, really? Come on, like that happened to me. And I think going through it, like, I didn't really know anyone who had done it. And then a week later, you did it.
Twins.
Twinsies. And I mean, that was like one of the biggest things that got me through was just having you to do it with me. Like,
Yeah.
I think when, like, having someone with you to do it, like, made it so much better. And the fact that our first game was against each other.
Yeah,
It
that was
like,
insane.
February 11th is like divine timing. Stanford versus Syracuse playing for like the first time ever, and but yeah, I mean it was just sucked.
Wait, I didn't even put that together.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa,
Like,
that must
so
be really
random.
that
Why
must
did
be
we play
really
each other?
special.
I don't know. Stanford and Syracuse have never played each other, to my knowledge, and then randomly in 2022 or whatever year it was, we were playing each other the first game of the season at the Dome, which I'd never been to, and so like Megan and I trained together for like 3 months in the summer. Oak Fit, shout out Oak Fit.
Oh God.
Oh my God, Meg loved Oak Fit.
We're like their first little soldiers. So, but yeah, so February 11th was the day that was like our holy grail that like anything we did was for February 11th.
Feb 11.
Feb 11th.
Yeah.
But like we also, that was during COVID. Like we were it just was so isolating and like it just sucked. It was bad timing because like you couldn't really like fly anywhere or do anything. And then we were just in Dallas, like
At
getting
Oak
strapped
Fit.
onto a table.
Yeah. Trying to bend our little knee that just didn't want to bend.
Yeah. But
I'm like, you want me to run? I don't know how to.
you want me to do a squat? No. But like obviously it's like, you know, one of the most formative experiences I've ever had and has given me so much perspective and so much strength that I wouldn't have had otherwise. I like to think. And other days I'm like, you know what? I don't wish that happened. I'm not happy about it.
How's your body feeling in your 5th year?
No,
Understood.
Got it. Cool.
I feel like I actually feel the most healthy that I have since my freshman year.
What?
Wow.
You're not playing hard enough.
Try harder.
Well, because like junior year, like the year I came back from my ACL, I mean, I like felt ready, but at the same time, like I was still like you're not fully there for another year. So, I mean, then my senior year, I tore my meniscus, so I had to get surgery again, and so then that year, I still felt like I was fine, but there is still like it's still not all the way there, and so this year is my first year where I have not had anything go wrong with me.
Oh my God, Jay.
So oh come on, I gotta I like keep saying this to my teammates, like I've spent so much like mental energy, like having this like knock on wood, don't get injured energy that like this year I was just like, you know what, whatever happens, I'm just throwing my body on the line and
well, that's good. You're playing so well too, so that's good to hear.
The mental release it's made me feel so much better.
That's good. That's a huge piece of it too.
Yeah.
Enough talk about injury because that's sad and no fun. Random question, what is your current lacrosse hot take?
I don't know what's like allowed to be said on air.
You can say whatever on air. We're live.
Live from the Meg
No,
Show.
I don't know if I have any hot takes. Um,
This is, I think, one of our tougher questions to do on the
It's hard
spot.
on the spot.
wait, no, I don't even know if this is a hot take, but I think the green card rule is the dumbest thing that's happened in women's lacrosse. I don't know if that's a hot take, but
I
so
don't-
stupid.
I think it's a universal take.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I know that there's so many advocates for it, and I would love to sit down and have a conversation with whoever's agreeing with it, but that's my current take. I think that's stupid.
Yeah, how is your so me and Meg didn't play with that, but how has your like adjustment, like when you started your season, like how has that kind of progressed as the season's gone on? Like, do you notice it? I mean,
Like
obviously
in the ride at all?
Yeah. I mean, it's all in the ride, and I think that is like one of my favorite parts of the game is the ride.
that's so
And
gritty. Love that.
it's like it is like how you get involved. It's like how you I don't know, it's like reparations of an attacker. Like you mess up, you get it back.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
you show you care.
yeah. So for our team, like we had an exhibition game against Northwestern. I think we had like 16 green
Yeah.
cards.
I remember that.
Like I seriously think it was upwards of 15 green cards, and we just didn't even know what to do. We just were like,
That's
okay,
like a whole quarter man down.
we're playing 2 men down for half the game. They played 2 men down, and we're like, we're really sorry. We don't even know what to do at this point. And so like now we're playing games where we're only getting one green card. If it's bad, we're getting 2 to 3. And a lot of it's just an accident. A lot of it is like you're standing here and a girl face dodges or splits her hand in front of you and she drops the ball and you're done. Like you're in the box for a minute.
Is it like coached differently at all? Like, are your coaches like, okay, in the ride, do this, or just like
Yeah,
don't like go
totally.
full out, or like,
Well, yeah, so now we are like no checking, like you are playing body the whole time, and like our objective now is to not get cause turnovers, but to just wind down the clock as much as we can.
gotcha.
And our attackers are like super, super fast. Like we have 2 like all-American track stars on our attack right now, and they can
Wow.
pretty much run down anyone.
Yeah.
And no, like seriously, they're ridiculous. And so we're just like at this point, there's no point in getting a check off. Let's just give the defense like 40-second clock. And so that's just been our like priority.
Yeah, and I feel like that's been seen across like a lot of teams that are kind of just trying to like hold space, make the defense like turn back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just curious, like as a player noticing it, because I know it would definitely be frustrating to kind of have to. Well, it's also I understand the safety piece of it. I do understand that, but I do think there's a different way to go about it.
Well, what's silly to me is the second you cross over the restraining line, you can get destroyed, and it's nothing. It's just a foul. But if
It's
you
literally like a line separates
it is a force field, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm getting throat checked in the 8-meter, and it's like a foul. It's like a flag, and I'm getting attacked in the neck.
You're like lining up for 8-meter, like not being able to breathe.
So I'm like, if we're talking about safety, like let's attack safety, but the midfield is not where the crimes are being committed.
I do see your point. That's a very good point.
Yeah.
For Stanford, you guys do trimesters, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So how do you see that? Like, well, I guess you're used to it, but when you were first coming into school, like, do you feel a difference with it? Because other schools don't go with the trimester route, or
And now, like, postseason, you guys are still in classes, right?
Yeah.
And people are done just playing lacrosse, getting ready for the tournament.
Yeah. I mean, for us, since we're all used to it, like, it doesn't feel like it's that big of a deal just because we're so used to it. But, like, we go to Northwestern on Wednesday, and, like, we have girls taking midterms on a Thursday. So it just is it's not that it's, like, such a disadvantage, but the fact that the teams we're playing, well, Denver's also on trimester, so, but, like, most of the teams we're playing, like, when our season starts, like, we are in the thick of school, like, we're in finals of school and, like, midterms, whatever. And it's super fast paced. Like what people are learning in 1 semester, we're learning in 10 weeks. And so it's like really fast paced and the turnover is really quick. And so it's just like, it's definitely a lot. And like, you just learn from like starting freshman year, like you learn how to get it together or you will drown.
Gotcha.
Sink or swim.
You sink
That's
or swim.
how it is.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
Yeah.
It's a tough world out there.
Yeah.
At Stanford, what is your favorite place to like grab food? You have an off day, like what are you doing? What's your ideal day?
It's a good question. I
I can
mean,
only imagine there's so much to do in beautiful
I know.
California.
That's like the best part about when I like host people on recruiting things. I'm like, you will not get better food options anywhere else.
Yeah.
I don't know. I love like a sweet green, tender greens.
Mhm.
I don't know if you guys know what that is. Um, we have like, just a lot of little like cute coffee shops and cafes downtown. There's like 3 like shopping mall area, like outdoor areas that we can get like access restaurants and
Yeah.
stuff. So yeah, like a good little healthy bowl.
How
Mhm.
you guys like are close to the water, right? Like to the beach.
Like 30, 40 minutes.
Do you guys go often?
I don't really because like it's a beach, but it's like really cold and
Yeah.
it's like rocks. So it's like I'm not
Ugh,
playing
must be tough.
it.
It's not
We'll
white
take
sand.
we'll take like team trips to the beach and yeah, but like usually when I get an off day I just like go home and sleep and
Yeah.
watch TV. Like it's not as glamorous as it feels.
True.
Yeah, off days, resting is so important. So important.
Yeah. Yeah.
So besides your home field, where or what field is your favorite place to play at?
Ooh. All right, well the dome was like the coolest place I've ever been. It was like Disney World. Um yeah. Honestly, I guess yeah, I feel like the dome was the coolest place he played.
Really?
Um yeah, I mean Oregon is pretty sick. Like just the school itself is pretty cool. Um
Yeah, they look like they have really nice facilities.
their facilities are really nice.
Mhm.
Yeah, I guess it would be that. I mean, like when we played at Stony Brook, like it's not I didn't like Stony Brook, but a lot of our team is from Long Island and so we had a ton of fans there. And so like that feel is something we don't get here.
Mhm.
Like we just the fan base just doesn't exist yet. And so like going east, like our fans are like they triple in size because they can actually get there. Um
That's so fun. Because then it's like an away game, but it doesn't necessarily feel like one.
But it feels like a home one.
yeah.
Mhm.
So I would say yeah, I don't have great memories in all the Pac-12 ones, so
That's a good answer. We'll take
yeah.
Syracuse.
Yale was cool too. Not that I like Yale, but their facilities are brand new.
Oh,
Oh, really? I
yeah.
didn't know that.
Yeah, they do have that brand new lacrosse facility.
Yeah, the Josai like
Yeah.
lacrosse.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
You're
it was
right. You're right.
it was nice.
Yeah. Do you have any superstitions? Or did you ever?
Oh my god, well I did. Like after I got injured, I felt like my life was superstitions. Um and now I just like no. I mean, I drink like an energy drink before a game and I wear like black sports bra and spandex and that's it.
What energy drink do you drink?
Alani knew.
Oh my god.
Well, a girl on my team like introduced them to me, and like every time we drank one, we would like win or play well, and so then I was like, okay, I have to.
Yeah, we're winning because of the Alani Nu, of
The
course.
Alani Nu is bringing me powers, and like if a flavor, like if I drank a different flavor and we lost, I'm like, no more cosmic stardust. It's time for fruit punch. Like
That's really funny.
That is
so
the reason.
that so those like I do have some little ticks left still, but for them, I try
Yeah.
not to like get caught up in that anymore.
Yeah, superstitions they're kind of important. I
Yeah,
like little superstitions. Gives me something to think about, focus on.
yeah.
So a couple more questions and we'll let you go. But this one, so as your not to bring this up, but as your college career heading into your last month, correct? Last month?
Last month.
Last month. It's a very weird period of time. You feel nostalgia kind of more towards the end. But
Mhm.
so if you had any advice for the next generation of Stanford lacrosse players or Texas lacrosse players or any young lacrosse players, what would you say to them if they want to go on to play at collegiate levels or higher?
Yeah, I do think about this a lot because I feel like the next generation coming in is like just completely different from how we were. And I think like my message would just be that your teammates and how you show up as a teammate is the single most important thing in your career. And like whatever accolades you get, whatever stats you do, like people remember who you were as a teammate. And that to me is like the impact that I want to have on my teammates. And I think like that's what brings people success is the ability to like really connect with the people on the field and the people that you're with every day. And I think too much now with all the social media and every new like there just seems to be some new team and award and something that you can get as like a little 18-year-old that I'm just like what matters is how your teammates think of you and how you make them feel and how you play for them. And the best teams are the ones that are having so much fun together with like the most amount of love that you can even like feel through the screen. And you just know when teams are like that. And I think like if I were a coach recruiting, like I'm looking for the girls that are the best teammates. And like that's just what I hope people think and act like.
For sure. No, that's awesome. I think being a good teammate just speaks louder than like just speaks volumes. It goes a long way. And also like one thing to note there is like when you are getting recruited and you're going to those different colleges, schools, visits, watching games, like you can really tell teams that love each other and play for each other and other teams where they're just going through the motions and it's not really authentic. So you gotta find those schools where they really love playing for each other.
Yeah, and you gotta be gritty. Like you gotta be scrappy.
Yeah.
No like no drama queen, like glamour.
Yeah.
Like you gotta get down in the dirt.
Absolutely. I love that.
Preach.
Yeah.
That was such a good point to bring up, though, because I say this all the time, like, not in a downer way, but lacrosse does end, and
Yeah.
people will remember you as the person you were, not the player you were on the field.
Mhm.
So that's really, really good advice, and I hope the listeners take that one to heart.
Mhm.
And to close this off, what will your life look like if you know after graduation?
Oh God.
You're gonna stay in
Loaded question.
California, move back home. What you got
Yeah.
anything lined up yet?
So no, I'm not moving back home. But so two of my current teammates and then one of my old teammates were all gonna live in an apartment in San Francisco together. I know. Only one is employed. The rest of us are still looking.
And that's totally fine. That's
So
totally
You have
you're
fine.
out
time.
there-
You have
if
time.
you're
Don't
out there
rush it.
listening to the Meg Show and you want 3 really hard workers, there's 3 unemployed Stanford graduates just waiting for something. But I do want to stay out here because I just love I don't know, I love California. I'm not ready to leave yet. I'm New York. I can't join the rat race yet. One day, like, I'm not ready for it. So for now, we're
that's
signing
too
a
good.
1-year lease in San Francisco.
Wow, that's awesome. Good for you.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that. But yeah, looking for a job. I don't know what lacrosse looks like on the other side, but hopefully stay
Not
involved.
much.
I know I'll like coach and do
Yeah.
like
What do you like? What kind of job are you looking for?
something in finance, maybe consulting. I'd love to work for a startup. But really at this point, like just anything where I can learn as much as possible and then go from there, wherever it takes me.
Cool.
So if any of our listeners know anyone looking for a Stanford grad, we know a girl or
Back
3.
Or 2 or 3
or 3, yeah.
or 3. All right. Well, Jay, thank you for coming on tonight and joining us, and good luck the rest of your season. And go beat Denver.
Yeah, I hope you guys make the right projection. Okay, we need MC
Yep.
and MT on Stanford for this week's reception.
You got it. You got it.
Noted. All right. Thanks, Jay.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Jay.
Bye.